Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast of the tankiest tank team that ever did tank in the Bay Area. And today we are going to preview the Bedard Bowl, probably arguably the biggest game of the season, with our friend Jay from Locked On Blue Jackets. So all that and more on today's episode of Locked On Sharks.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm your host, JD Young, contributor at San Jose Hockey Now. Joined with me is Jay Forster of Locked On Blue Jackets. And we want to thank you guys for making Locked On Sharks / Locked On Blue Jackets your first listens of the day. You can, of course, find us wherever you get podcasts and watch on YouTube as we cover your team every day. Jay, some people would argue this is the biggest game of the season. And those two people are us.
Yes. I'm just so excited for how bad the hockey is going to be in tonight's game. I guess it's going to be a Tuesday morning episode. It's going to be so bad. It's going to be like 8-7. I can't wait. It's going to be just.
It's either going to be 8-7 or like 1-0 type of situation.
Oh, for sure.
There's no in between. It's going to be
just
every goal.
Shoes.
Like, and the last time these two teams played, there was a lot of goals. So, yeah, I have a feeling it's going to be that type of situation where, everybody is scoring in this game. So we're going to kind of look at this game, not kind of like an X's O, just kind of talk about how each team is headed into this game. Then we're going to talk about what Connor Bedard would mean to each of our franchises, especially. I mean, this is why you lose all these games. And then at the end of the show, we're going to talk about which teams would be the kind of worst case scenario Chicago for Connor Bedard to go to. So let's start with the Blue Jackets losing a bunch of games on a West Coast swing here. Jay, give us a lowdown on the Jackets right now.
I mean, everything is just bad, you know. I think the big thing is goaltending right now. So the Blue Jackets traded Jonas Korpisalo away. Elvis Merzlikins is back in Latvia with a family member who's very ill. So the Blue Jackets right now are running with the tandem of Michael Hutchinson and third string goalie Danil Tarasov, who, in fairness, Danil Tarasov has been pretty good in the limited time that he's seen, but he's also a baby. So I'm not holding out hope. He has a .908 save percentage so far on the season. He's also 2-9-1. You know, so
that's a fairly good sample size, at least, right?
Yeah. So he's played, I think, about 14 NHL games so far and has exactly 2 wins, which is not great, but wins aren't a goalie stat. The big thing for me is the Blue Jackets only have like 2 goal scorers at the minute. And one of those guys is Boone Jenner, which is always worrying when Boone Jenner is leading your team in goals. They both have, he has 20 goals on the season. Patrick Laine has 21. So, and I believe Laine is on some kind of weird hot streak. I say weird. It's not weird, but he's on a hot streak at the minute. It is, if I can pull up his game logs on NHL. Imagine if NHL.com functioned.
No.
He's on a 5-game point scoring streak right now. So
what about one Johnny Hockey, Johnny Gaudreau? He's
Johnny Gaudreau has gone he's gone a little cold, which like makes sense because Brad Larson doesn't seem to want to give him any consistent line mates ever or consistent ice time or anything like that. He's got 57 points in 63 games so far. So, you know, he's doing okay. He had 2 assists against St. Louis, but he went pointless the 2 games before that. So Johnny Gaudreau is doing okay. I would like for him to be doing better, but I kind of understand. And this is the thing I kind of talked about a little bit a couple episodes ago, is that I don't think Johnny Gaudreau was going to score 115 points in Columbus. Like maybe like if he managed to stick with the same line mates, like he had Matthew Tkachuk on his other wing, all of last season, and we look like what Matthew Tkachuk is doing in Florida now, you know. if he'd had the entire season with Patrick Laine had been able to stay healthy, like Patrick Laine's only played like 50 of the 65 games or something. He's missed a lot of time. Maybe we'll be talking about that. But right now, I think considering Johnny Gaudreau, they practiced today. His line mates are, I believe, Boone Jenner and Emil Bemstrom, who seems to go from first line winger to AHL every other game. Because who knows? And that's kind of been the story of the season, is he hasn't been able to find consistent line mates. When he does get consistent line mates, he's producing. There are players that he plays very well with. Kent Johnson took a spell on the top line when Boone Jenner broke his hand, and that line played pretty well. Kirill Marchenko, the rookie, has been on the top line, and he's performed pretty well. But it's just kind of been, they have been fighting all season long. Not with each other, just like the team has felt like it's been fighting through something that, like, is it injuries? Is it?
It seems like a lot of injuries, right?
Coaching? Like,
yeah,
it's been a time. But I have no complaints with how Johnny Gaudreau has conducted himself this season. I have no complaints with how any of the. I have no complaints with how most of the players have done this season. Would I like more from some of them? Sure, yes. But I also think that they're battling against ineffective and poor coaching this season, which I think is the biggest issue.
All right, on the Sharks side of things, I mean, we know, especially since Timo Meier was traded away, the Sharks have struggled to score. I mean, they struggled to score before Timo Meier,
but now they have
now they struggle more without Timo Meier. Hertl, I think, has definitely stepped up in the time that since he's been on a bit of a hot streak here. He's already got 4 goals this month. He had 1 goal all of February. So I think we're seeing Hertl kind of round back to form, and especially since Eklund has jumped up with his wing, I think those guys make a natural combo of, Eklund's shiftiness and craftiness and Hertl's, I'm going to just get to the net. And he's been shooting more, especially since Timo Meier's left. But I mean, it's weird. The Sharks actually haven't had a lot of injuries. Like, you look at some of these other teams in the race for Bedard, where you point to the Blue Jackets, right? The blue line has been decimated by injuries.
Eric Branson and some guys.
Yeah, like the Sharks haven't really had they've had some injuries, and that's normal, but they haven't had just devastating injury luck, right? Couture's played all but 3 games, or Couture's played every game. Carlson's played every game. Hertl's played every game but 3 games, and those were 2 from a suspension and 1 because of the birth of his child. Like, their key guys have been pretty healthy this year. They've just been bad. Like, this team's just been bad. And I mean, and Carlson, like I just mentioned, 16 points, 15 games. That's what we're rooting for here, right? Get that 100, hits that century mark. First, hopefully be the first defenseman to do it since Brian Leetch did it back in 90, I think it's 91, 92. So we're looking at 30 years since the defenseman has had 30 points type of season, which would, I think if Carlson does that, you have to they should just stop the game and give them the Norris Trophy right in the middle.
Just rename the Norris to the.
I want to see right in the middle of the game. You stop it, and then Gary Bettman comes out and just hands him the Norris Trophy in the middle of the game. That's what I want to see. And I think he deserves it. I will be spending plenty of off-season time discussing why Erik Karlsson deserves Norris, but the goaltending's been the issue, and that's the problem. Is it's James Reimer, who we all love James Reimer, but he's starting to show some cracks in the foundation. And Kaapo Kähkönen, who's had a roller coaster season, played really terribly to start. Right around the All-Star break, we saw some of his best, and then he's kind of been bad the past few games here. So, and that's kind of where the Sharks are at. That's why I think this game's going to be a high-scoring affair between these two teams, just because I don't think the goaltending is going to be there. We sat together and watched the Wild team that didn't have Kaprizov just score whenever, pretty easily on Reimer and the Sharks on Saturday night. So yeah, but that's the preview. Both these teams stink.
So what we're saying here is neither team can score goals. And neither team knows how to stop goals being scored. So it really could go either way.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot. Last time these two teams played, both teams put, I think the Blue Jackets had 5 or 6, and the Sharks had 3. So I have a feeling this is definitely a over situation here.
Oh,
So
for sure. Yeah. The if we put the over under at like 6.5, like I am definitely hitting the over on that.
So if you wanted to bet on this game, or if you like betting on the NBA, that's where our good friends over at FanDuel comes in. So we are past the midway point of the NBA season. Now is the perfect time to download the FanDuel app, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. You can bet on everything from the money line to point scores to threes drained. I enjoy the 2 3-pointers scored in the first 3 minutes because you know right away. It's always fun to root for points, and you know right away if you won. So, plus FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same game parlay. So don't miss a chance to get your no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, so let's talk about the big prize here, right? One, Connor, middle name unknown, Bedard. This is again why you lose all these games, and I'm doing my spoiler Thursday. I have Scout on. We talk the Connor Bedard draft profile and why he's such a special player. And again, if you go, you win the lot, you get to the lottery. If you're #1 seed, the worst you're going to pick is number 3, and you're going to get a great player no matter what. But Connor Bedard, he's a franchise altering player. And I'll start, since you're the guest, you're the coming on the visit. What would Bedard, you think, mean for Columbus? A franchise that's, I don't know, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's lacked something, but there hasn't really been like a big star in Columbus since.
So
Ever?
Columbus had stars, but very, very briefly. You know, they had Antemi Panarin for a couple of seasons. He's probably the closest thing they've had to a star player. Like, arguably, Johnny Gaudreau is a star player, but both of those guys are guys that they acquired in trades, free agency.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the last star player that they drafted is probably going to be Rick Nash. You know, and that's 20 years ago now. You know, I know that the Sharks have never had a #1 overall pick, and so, you know, it's
our turn.
My argument of it's been 20 years carries a little bit less weight against Sharks fans, but like the past 20 years, the Blue Jackets have drafted one superstar. You know, the Sharks have had more stars. I think the Sharks have had a better last 2 decades than the Blue Jackets. And I think for most, like, the on-ice stuff for Bedard is kind of undeniable. You know what he's going to do. He's going to turn up and he's going to score 30 goals and 80 points as a rookie. You know, he's going to, no matter what team he's on, you know, he takes that step. He has like an incredible rookie season, maybe the best rookie season that we've seen in a long time, you know. Connor McDavid, like, his rookie season was kind of derailed by, he broke his collarbone, I believe.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think it's probably going to be the rookie season that we were expecting out of McDavid we get from Bedard. Even putting that aside, the Blue Jackets getting a bona fide star at 18, like, that I think will add to, and this is the thing that's been about like the Johnny Gaudreau signing for me is what he does on the ice is undeniable. You know, that's obviously a big part of it. Him choosing to come to Columbus was a real shift in people being like, oh, hey, what does Johnny Gaudreau know that we don't? Maybe Columbus is the place to be. And, you know, if you add Johnny Gaudreau to, you know, guys like Patrick Laine, who Patrick Laine against, I think it was the first game against Winnipeg this season, scored a goal. And that was, and that meant that he'd scored a goal against every team but Columbus in his career. And after the game, he was like, yeah, I hope I never score against Columbus. I want to spend the rest of my career here. You know, like, that means something to the fans. That means something to the team. And I think getting a star player like Bedard, like, this team needs a star. I think they deserve it. I think. And as well, you look at, so the Blue Jackets, I believe, are on like 4 straight sellouts at Nationwide for a team that's 32nd in the standings. You know, like, this team, this fan base turns up and has continued to turn up during some truly dire hockey this season, other seasons. Like, the fan base deserves to have someone like Connor Bedard.
A homegrown superstar. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, I think with San Jose, like you mentioned, the Sharks they've had stars, right? Joe Thornton they acquired in a trade. Patrick Marleau, homegrown star. I think Patrick Marleau is debatable Hall of Fame case, but he's still a star. You got guys like Joe Pavelski. You've had Tomas Hertl, Timo Meier. They traded Brent Burns. They acquired in a trade. Erik Karlsson they acquired in a trade. But I mean, a guy like a franchise changer like this would be since Joe Thornton, basically a type of player where they call it like an NFL. They call them skyline changers, right? Guys who change the skyline of your city because of what they do. That's selling seats and revenue. Guys who can maybe get a new building out of it type of situation. And the Sharks, they were very successful for a long time, right? Playoff, contenders, Stanley Cup contenders, never got over the hump. Plenty of reasons that you can dig into things that went wrong and stuff like that. And they've kind of screwed around with this like retool, reload. But here, if Mike Greer's kind of torn this thing down, he hasn't gone the full burn the whole thing to the ground like we've seen with Chicago and Arizona. But I mean, I think there's enough pieces where if you can get a Bedard and then you still have like a Hertl, Couture, he's having a great season, I think, for Couture. And then you have your guys like William Eklund and Bordelot. This could take a team that has been kind of spinning its wheels the past couple of years and putting them on a new path of like being relevant much sooner than I think a lot of Sharks fans realize right now. And, the Sharks, they've never won the first overall pick. They've been twice a couple times. Pat Falloon, Patrick Marleau.
Icon.
Yeah, Shark icon, Pat Falloon. But like this could be especially you look in your own state, right? You're gonna have to contend with the Kings, who are good now. You have Byfield. That's the thing. Like Byfield hasn't even like scratched the surface of how good he's gonna be. You have Zegras, and you have McTavish down in Anaheim. You're going to need a star player to be able to compete with those guys for the next decade plus. And getting Bedard, making California hockey fun again. That's my pitch. So
yeah. It feels very much like when Sidney Crosby went to Pittsburgh. That team was on the brink of being sent to Kansas City.
Yep.
I
mean, we don't think neither one of our teams is going to be on.
No.
But that like he saved. You could argue Sidney Crosby saved the Pittsburgh Penguins from, being something else.
Like people outside of this sport know the Pittsburgh Penguins. I don't know that many people outside of hockey know the Columbus Blue Jackets or know the San Jose Sharks off the top of their head. Like Columbus has to contend with the Bengals and the Browns and the Reds and
Ohio State,
the big one. Yeah, like San Jose is kind of the same thing. They've got the Giants just down the road. They've got the Golden State Warriors, and I feel like I compared the signing of Johnny Gaudreau this summer to the LeBron James free agent signing for Cleveland, kind of tongue in cheek, but also not really. And it feels like a similar thing of Bedard is a franchise changer. He moves the needle, if you will allow me to use that particular phrase without upsetting you. But so I want to kind of dig into that a little bit more, and I want to talk about Bedard. Obviously, the Sharks take a huge step forward in their rebuild with Bedard. What do you think is the next move for them after that? Because I feel like for Columbus, Bedard is not the final piece, but he is definitely almost the final piece. I feel like they figure out their goaltending, they get that legit number one center, whether that's Bedard, Fantilli, Karlsson, whoever.
Yep.
That's a playoff team.
And especially if the goaltending is going to be a big issue, but the Blue Jackets are good at developing goaltenders. Like it's a pipeline. They do this, right? They do it well. And I have faith in that organization to be able to identify and find a goaltender. The Sharks a little worried about that on that part, but and you could look to like, wow, they had a terrible year when it came for the Blue Jackets, right? A terrible year when it came to injuries, injury luck. We get these guys back healthy. Johnny Gaudreau, maybe, I don't know what their cap situation looks like. You're going to be able to, if you have some cap space, you might be able to find, sign a couple free agents. And then you can go from the worst team in the NHL to a legitimate playoff team. I know the East is it's a whole other thing over there, but
it's
that, trying to be nice there. But yeah, you can see that. I think with the Sharks though, I still think they, again, looking at the West, right? Seattle is kind of coming along quicker, and you still have Shane Wright to add to the mix, right? Just looking in the Sharks' own division, right? LA is gone, kind of a dark horse cup contender right now, and I think, again, Byfield, I think, is kind of the looming thing with him. And you saw Brant Clark, who's coming over, who's going to be outstanding type of situation. The Ducks, who they have a lot of pieces. I think they're a couple steps ahead of the Sharks when it comes to the rebuild. But getting a guy like Bedard, it doesn't solve everything, but it just makes your life so much easier. You have such a wider margin of error, right? So if Beasted, maybe if he doesn't hit, or Eklund isn't that guy that we think he's going to be, having Bedard there raises those guys and makes those guys better because of just how good he is. So I'd still think next year they would be, instead of being the worst team in the NHL, I'd put them at 10, right? Type of situation. Erik Karlsson's either A, not going to be there, or he's going to take a step back, being a 100-point performer. You would hope a guy like Bedard can kind of fill the scoring for Timo Meier, William Eklund another year, a full year in the NHL. Bordelot can start to, you start to see some of these prospects start to trickle in a little bit. Their blue line's still their blue line. But you can kind of start to see the pieces where they enter from a bad team to start to be that kind of fun, frisky team. And then maybe 2 years from now, when their cap starts to clean up a little bit, then you can start to become a playoff caliber team, type of situation. So yeah, that's again, Bedard, I think he just makes it easier for Mike Greer to kind of do stuff. And then, okay, I have Bedard, I got Eklund to pair with, Eklund doesn't have to be the savior. You have Bedard. You can pair him with those, and and then if you get Beasted to kind of come in, so yeah,
it gives Mike Gray something to build around.
Yes,
instead of being well, I have a collection of miscellaneous players. Let's just start sticking things together. You're right, we have Bedard. Let's start there. Put him with Eklund. Cool. Then you can move Hurl down to the second line. Cool. Then you find,
and then if Logan Couture's your third, your 3C.
If Logan Couture's your third line center,
you're feeling great.
Yeah. He feels like a perfect third line center.
Logan Couture is a great third line center. He's been having a great year this year. But yeah, if Logan Couture is your third line center, and even if right now, if Bedard, even if you want to play him on the wing or whatever the first year as he kind of builds up, whatever, it gives you flexibility. You don't have to rely on it gives you a foundation to build on. So yeah, I mean, I think both these franchises are worthy. One of us already has a custom-made Bedard jersey. So before we finish up and we talk about the worst case scenario and which teams we do not want to see win the prize, Connor Bedard, do want to take a quick break, talk to you guys about our friends over at Athletic Greens. If, say, you have some tummy issues, like my wife, she takes Athletic Greens every day. The great thing about it, covers your gut health. You get more energy. You have optimize your immune system, and you don't have to take a bunch of pills or supplements. And that tastes great. It actually has a nice, little dark chocolate aftertaste to it. So, with it, 8 ounces of water, scoop of the delicious AG1. You're absorbing 75 high quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source, superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help start your day right. The special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, aging, all the things. And the great thing about it, it costs less than $3 a day. You're investing in your health. It's cheaper than your cold brew habit. It's cheaper than getting all the supplements yourself. Investing in all-in-one nutritional insurance. The founder, it was costing him $100 a day to take all the supplements to cover the tummy issues. So that's why he created it. And right now they're making it super easy for you guys. Go to athleticgreens.com/NHL network. You'll get 1 year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Again, just visit athleticgreens.com/NHL network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. All right. we know the team that neither one of us wants to see, and that's the Chicago Blackhawks, right? Your franchise is stained with plenty of terrible things that they have covered up and hidden, and you burned the thing to the ground. I'm all for tanking. Tanking is a viable method in team building, but burning it to the ground, if the hockey gods are just, they will not let Connor Bedard ever wear a Chicago Blackhawks uniform. Have I gone too far?
So I've been thinking about this actually. In the Seth Jones trade, the Blue Jackets received essentially 4 first-round picks. One of them ended up being Cole Sillinger. One of them they got Jake Bean for a second, who was a former first-round pick, and a Boquist, former first-round pick, and they also got a 2022 conditional first-round pick. And I'm wondering, if the Blackhawks picked second overall last year, does that push them high enough to make, because it was a conditional 2022 pick that would turn into an unconditional 2023.
Oh, so that you could have had 2 shots in the top 3 for the Black.
Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering, does the addition of, a Shane Wright or a Simon Nemec or a Juraj Slafkovsky, does that make Chicago good enough to not be in the basement this season? And I'm like, would I trade, for example, say they pick third overall, would I trade David Jiricek for Leo Carlson? So it's fun to think about, because like at the time I was thrilled to get Jiricek, and now I'm like, man,
you could have had
getting
Mitch
Bedard
Hoff
and Leo Carlson in the same draft.
It's
It's like it's like the Sedin twins,
Yeah, that would have been. Yeah, then we would be having a conversation like how the Devils have kind of taken off here, of like that could be the Blue Jackets, where you got 2 top 3 picks in the draft. How insane would that be?
It would be insane. But no, Chicago can't have them. Chicago's not allowed nice things.
No.
Karma is real, and it will come for them. The other team that we don't want is Anaheim, because Anaheim has not done anything to deserve.
You've gotten a bunch of top amazing picks.
The fact that,
you can't even handle those.
Anaheim hasn't shown that they can be trusted with top picks yet.
In Montreal,
look at how
all their top picks die.
Wasting Trevor Zegras' like sophomore season. It's like Montreal has kind of entered the chat, and so JD and I have a group chat with a couple with the Locked On Habs folks. Very, very fun. They keep saying, hey, what if Bedard goes to Montreal? And me and JD are no,
livid,
absolutely not,
livid over the idea.
You're not allowed this. You had first overall last year,
and you broke it.
So don't get another toy until you've proven that you can play with this one nicely.
Yeah, no, I think if I had to power rank them, Chicago's clear cut number 1. Anaheim, I think, is number 2 on teams I don't want to see. The Coyotes have kind of played themselves out of it recently.
They're on a weird little hot streak, which is fun for us.
It's good for us, right? Good for us as fans of a potential Bedard pick. But because do you reward that franchise? And again, this is nothing to Coyotes fans. Like, we know plenty of Coyotes fans, and they're great fans, etc. But the franchise is such a,
isn't 65% of their cap dead contracts?
It's dead contracts. And again, tanking is a very viable, I'm all for tanking, but at some point you got to start to kind of put things together, and it's easy to burn it down, but at some point you got to kind of
you got to put the fire out eventually. You
got to and I know they have a lot of great prospects, etc., but this organization, having Connor Bedard playing in front of 5,000 people, in your home, that's weird, right?
Yeah. And this is the thing. They always talk about growing the game. And I am all for hockey in Arizona. Yes. I think it's rad. I think small market, you play, you cover a team in a small market. I arguably cover a team in a small market. More small market hockey, but for whatever reason, Arizona has it's just not worked. They're on their 3rd arena of the last 5 years. They're building a new one. They're on their 3rd city because they keep getting kicked out of arenas. For whatever reason,
couldn't even make their payments. Can't pay their bills on time. I
don't know if it's ownership or what. But if the draft lottery is rigged, then we'll know, because Bedard will absolutely go to Arizona. But I don't know that that's the best way to grow this game by putting, the best young player since arguably Austin Matthews, arguably McDavid, whichever way you go, putting him in, like you say, an arena with 5,000 fans that is the laughingstock of the NHL right now.
Again, Coyotes fans, you guys deserve better than
angry
this.
Messages.
Yes,
we love the concept of the Coyotes. Your jerseys are great.
Yes,
we think that you have some great prospects. This is not a personal attack on you. We promise. This is a personal attack on whoever owns your stupid team.
You deserve better. You deserve better than what you guys are getting.
Right.
And then worst case scenario, because I mean, there is the very, very slight chance of a team jumping up, which is like the worst, and why is it Vancouver?
Right. I was like, let me just pull up the standings, but I think it's Vancouver.
I mean, it would be like Pettersson.
Honestly,
Pettersson and Bedard would be really fun together, but
it would. But do you trust Vancouver to not trip over itself the way that they have done with every young player? Philadelphia would be a bad option because Tortorella would just turn him into mulch.
Fourth line minutes. Yep.
Ottawa winning the lottery somehow is bad. I think Ottawa's they're 12, Ottawa
so they can't
currently
right
the
now.
last, the highest up team that can drop down because you can only drop 10 places, right?
Yeah, they're at 12. Actually, no, they didn't have their pick. It's going to Arizona, so they can't even do that.
True. Okay, so that's fine. We don't have to worry about Ottawa.
Yeah, so Washington, Ovi and Bedard.
Washington, again, is one of those teams that, I know that they only won the one cup, but they've also had, 16 years of Alexander Ovechkin. It's near the start of the season when Pittsburgh was struggling. I tweeted out something that meme of the no fear, one fear meme. And I was like, no fear. And then a t-shirt saying Pittsburgh is bad this season, winning Bedard, and then starting the Crosby dominance cycle again is, one fear. That's the worst possible, is somehow Pittsburgh winning the draft lottery. Florida winning it would also be pretty bad because they don't have their picks. And we've already proven that they can't be trusted. There's a bunch of bad options here at the kind of the creamy middle of the NHL standings. But I think Philadelphia might be the worst for Bedard specifically. If we take away our personal feelings, giving Bedard to a coach like Tortorella and an organization like Philadelphia that has clearly shown that they value, grit and old style hockey over basically everything else. Maybe that'll change with Danny Briere. I hope it does. I love Danny Briere.
One of my all-time favorite Flyers. But yes.
Yeah, he's great. We love Danny Briere. This is a Danny Briere hype zone.
Was Danny Briere the first B small score goals player?
I think he might have been the first small goals boy.
Yeah, small goals boy. Danny Briere walked so Cole Caulfield could fly.
Yes. The point here is I don't know that John Tortorella can be trusted with Cole Caulfield. That's not almost the right player. With Connor Bedard. He also can't be trusted with Cole Caulfield. But that's I think that's where I'm landing, is that would be the worst place. I've nothing against the Flyers specifically.
Yeah.
And we have, we have the same enemy in Pittsburgh. So again, Flyers fans, if you're listening, don't send us angry messages. We love you. We love your team. We just don't trust John Tortorella with young, skilled players.
No, I think
I can say that because I sat through 4 years of it.
I think it's Vancouver. Vancouver would be the worst because, they don't deserve nice things right now. Again, get your house in order. So.
Actually, no, I've decided what the funniest thing would be is if he went to Vancouver and then Lindros them. I think that would be the best.
He's not going to. He's
not going to because
that would be. I would.
But that all I want in my heart is for a player to Lindros a team.
Except for if it's one of our teams.
Except if it's Columbus or San Jose, then he can stay. But I think it'll be hysterical.
Oh, that would be great.
Can you imagine the outcry in the modern NHL if someone was like, "Yeah, I'm going first overall," but not there.
Don't select me type of thing. And and then they do, and then he's got that sad, he's all sad putting on the jersey.
I do think a lot about the look on Connor McDavid's face when he was drafted to Edmonton back in 2015. I'm thinking that, but
That and then the Shane Wright just stare down combined as he's walking on the stage. It would be the best. There'd be must watch TV. If Connor Bedard is just like, I'm not playing for you.
Connor Bedard gets drafted by Vancouver and just stands up and walks out of the arena, like
just walks into the sea, never to be seen again. All right, Jay, you said it all. Where can the people find you?
You could. I mean, normally I say that in good conscience I can't recommend rooting for the Blue Jackets, but the Sharks fans know our pain. So if you want to pay attention to the Blue Jackets, if you want to get my perspective on hockey, Blue Jackets hockey, there are dog pictures on my Twitter occasionally, which is always fun. You can go to _Jacob Forster, JAKOBFORSTER. You can find Locked On Blue Jackets wherever you get Locked On Sharks. We're on all podcasting platforms. We are on YouTube. If you want to check us out over there, you can see JD's wonderful custom bespoke Bedard jersey that is just chef's kiss. And I think that's everywhere. Where can my wonderful Blue Jackets listeners find you?
Yes, I'm right now, especially as a fan of a tanky team. I have the rooting guide I put out every morning, and then the Tankathon stand-ins every night. But you can follow me on Twitter at myfryhole. You can follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Locked On Sharks. Of course, like Jay said, listen wherever you get podcasts. Subscribe on YouTube. Yes, until tomorrow, go Blue Jackets.
No, we've discussed this. It's going to be a Tomas Hertl 5-goal night. We've discussed this, JD.
And the Blue Jackets still win 6-5. Bye, friends.